Today on Alex Nautos, we are inside a 2016 Honda Accord taking a look at the latest Honda infotainment and navigation system. You'll notice this system is still designed around a two-display layout where we have a large non-touchscreen display above this and then a touchscreen display below it. The big change for 2016 is very obvious down here on this lower screen because this now supports Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. The operating system that this entire system runs on is actually a version of Android. First, let's take a look at the display up top because it's pretty simple to explain. This is a readout of your navigation information if you have one equipped in the vehicle, Apple CarPlay or Android Auto audio information below that, and the trip computer on the right. This is controlled via the control panel on the steering wheel. You can select a all audio system display right there, an information display that varies depending on the feature set in your vehicle. Right now we just have a clock there, or that same screen. Now if we actually had the built-in navigation option in this vehicle, then you would actually see navigation information on this upper screen like we saw in the 2015 model. Even though I have a destination programmed into Apple CarPlay on this lower screen, you'll notice we don't have any navigation information there on that upper screen. Even if we go right back to this main screen, we still just get a compass up there and then the audio information below that. Now on the flip side, that does allow you to see your media information on the upper screen even with Apple CarPlay and your mapping right down here on the lower screen. Focusing back in on the lower screen, we're now at the system's main menu, not the Apple CarPlay menu, so we can see the system's features more directly. It has an all-new lookout, and as you can see, we have several different pages there for future apps or other expansion choices that they may make. This system does support swipe gestures whenever applicable. We have these touch buttons right over here on the left side, dedicated home button right over there, volume slider up and down. You can touch it and then slide up and down, or you can just tap, whichever is easier for you. You can also tap in there and then tap on this display in the screen. We have a menu button right over here and a back button. Now let's take a deeper dive into the features. We have the audio button that would take us back to Apple CarPlay at the moment because that's the current audio source. We have a source button right here where we can change between our audio apps, whichever may be installed on your phone. We have USB inputs, iPod inputs, AM, FM, Sirius XM, that single slot optical disc player, and of course Bluetooth pairing right there. Clicking on over to FM and then clicking the audio button will take us to the FM radio display in the system. You can see we have scan, tune, seek. The preset buttons work very much like every other radio's preset buttons. We can click over and then we get an additional 6 buttons right there. You'll notice we have this little triangle right here, and that is so you can expand or contract the information displayed on this screen. Lift that up and then you'll notice we get a station list and our preset list as well. Once we're in this display, we can scroll this list by dragging our finger along, the same thing over there on the preset list. Going back to the home screen, we have Honda Link applications right here. These integrate with your smartphone. Now this generation of Honda Link can actually connect either via your smartphone and a smartphone integrated app, or actually via Wi-Fi. So if you had a MiFi device in the car as you're traveling along, or a home Wi-Fi, you can use that to connect as well. We have our weather right here. You can see what the weather forecast is today and over the next few days. It automatically uses the GPS sensor in the vehicle to find your location. We have the ability to change location, change the units to Celsius there as well. We have help and support for the vehicle and the system, feature guide, quick tips, connection guide, etc. We can view information about the vehicle, our maintenance, recalls, campaigns, etc. We also have an option for diagnostics in this system. We can go back and we have messages from Honda, which are messages about our particular vehicle that are sent to us from Honda. Going all the way back to the main screen, we have settings below that, and this is where you can adjust things like clock, the Bluetooth, Wi-Fi connection, system, camera, vehicle, and your smartphone integration as well. Also in the main menu, we have AHA as a separate app right here, and it is basically integrated in the system. You enter in your email address and your password, and you can run it right from this address via whatever data connection you have in the system, rather than loading that app separately on your device. We have an app list right over here, where you can see the integrated apps built into the Android version of this operating system. Again, this does use Android on its own, so we have a browser right here that you can use when you're connected via Wi-Fi, etc. We have Android system settings right here built into the system. We have the ability to run a calculator as well if you want to calculate things on the go. That could be a little handy right there. We have a downloads option right here. There are no downloads programmed. You can update via USB right there. We don't have a USB plugged in, of course, with updates. And we also have the ability to search right here via Google. There's, of course, a keyboard that will pop up and you can search whatever you'd like. So just for giggles, we'll search for Apple, and we'll see what pops up. You'll notice that it does pull up a browser. This browser is basically the Android default browser, so this is much more compatible than, for instance, the browser that you find built into Mercedes Command and available in certain Mercedes-Benz models. It is also considerably snappier, and because this is a touchscreen, it's an awful lot easier to use. Over on the info options, this is where you will find things like your trip computer information that we've typically seen from Honda, very similar layout. Current drive, history of trip A, you can delete the history there as well. We also have the ability to see our voice info and system or device information. System information basically just gives you the VIN number and the device number of this particular vehicle. The phone is a fairly typical Bluetooth phone interface. Because of course I have my Apple smartphone plugged in here, it will actually show us our favorites list, recents, contacts, etc. It actually is smart enough to integrate with all these features because it realizes that I do have this paired smartphone in the system. Now let's take a look at the Apple CarPlay integration for a very brief moment. If you want to know more detail about Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, there is yet another video that I have dedicated to the way Apple CarPlay and Android Auto work in most new vehicles these days. This is being all driven by the smartphone itself. So my smartphone is actually connected right here, and this video is not being generated by the system's head unit. It's actually all being generated by the phone. We have a home button right over here that also functions as your Siri voice command button. You can Siri via the button on the steering wheel as well. And then we have our apps across the screen. Depending on what apps you have installed on the phone, we can swipe across right like that. I only have Pandora at the moment. We have access to our phone right there. We can show contacts. We can have Siri dial. We also have recents, contacts, keyboard, voicemail, etc. We can go back. We have our music interface. We have full access to iTunes Radio, playlists, artists, songs, albums, genre, etc. We can go to the now playing screen, forward, backward, play, repeat, all that sort of stuff right there. On the messages screen, we can have it show us messages. We can have it read messages out loud to us. You can also dictate messages to it. Now playing takes you right on over to what it is that you were last playing in the media interface. Honda returns you to the vehicle's default interface right there. Click CarPlay to go right back. Podcasts and audiobooks are another way to interact with those particular audio input methods. And if we scroll on over to Pandora, this is basically running Pandora on the smartphone itself, although we control it via this same interface in the system. Lastly, going all the way back, we do have the Maps app right over here, and this basically acts as your navigation in the vehicle. We can zoom in and out on the screen, we have traffic information, we can use our finger to move around on the display, and we can choose between 2D or 3D views. Navigation in the system is very easy to use with either the Google devices or the Apple iOS devices. You basically just voice command destinations, and the voice command system is much more effective than most vehicles' built-in navigation system. Entering a destination is very easy. You can do it via voice commands or via this text interface. It's a very natural text interface as well. So for instance, we can search for pet stores, and we'll hit the search button and we'll see what it pops up with. You'll notice it has a listing of pet stores that it thinks might be good for you, very much like you would get on the Apple iPhone interface right there. You'll also notice on my particular iPhone, because it's connected here, it'll actually show you what's going on there too. You can click on one and have it navigate you right there. It'll give you the 3 different routes. This is very, very similar to what you see on the Google side. The voice commands operate very similarly as well. In addition, we can also question Siri for the usual Siri commands like, Siri, what's the weather like?
Weather coming up. The weather's looking good today. Up to 82 degrees and sunny. Well, it looks like a pretty mixed bag tomorrow through November 9th, 2015, with the high of 72 degrees and a low of 45 degrees.
Again, you can do basically everything you can do via either Apple or Google's voice interfaces via this system. Again, if you want to know more about the differences between Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, or you want to see them both, then go ahead and click on over to my separate video on those two systems as well. Overall, I like this general interface. This is definitely a good step up for Honda for the Accord. The biggest thing, of course, is that if you are a smartphone user, this software will be updated much more rapidly than the software that's built into the vehicle itself. So you should see far more features being integrated into this interface than we would be seeing out of Honda in Honda's own interface right here in the system. On the flip side, of course, this does take a lot of the personalization away from the vehicle manufacturers, so this software is really driven by Honda right here, but then once we go inside the CarPlay interface, that's all being controlled by either Apple or Google. Thanks for taking the time to check out this video. Again, I'm Alex Dykes. This has been the 2016 Honda Accord. Be sure and check out the complete review on the Accord, as well as a separate video on Apple's CarPlay, and I will see you next week.